Breaking news from the Middle East. A massive Hamas strike has reignited one of the most volatile conflicts on Earth. Explosions echo across the border. Air raid sirens wail through Israeli cities, and the world watches in fear. What's happening right now? And could this be the start of something far bigger? Let's find out. Hello everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Tonight we're covering a shocking new development. Hamas has launched a fresh wave of strikes against Israel, marking one of the most significant escalations in months. According to early reports, rockets have been fired toward major Israeli cities including Tel Aviv and Ashkelon. Israeli defense systems, particularly the Iron Dome, have intercepted many of them, but the tension is undeniable. The Israeli military has responded swiftly with counterstrikes targeting Hamas positions in Gaza. Civilians on both sides are once again caught in the middle, as shelters fill and emergency warnings sound. International observers are calling this the most dangerous moment since the last major Gaza conflict. In this report, we'll take you through what triggered this new escalation, how each side is responding, and what the global community is saying about it. Stay with us as we break down the story step by step, from the first missile launch to the growing fear of another all-out war. The latest Hamas strike didn't come out of nowhere. Tensions between Israel and Palestinian factions have been building for weeks. Local protests, border clashes, and controversial military operations have all added fuel to the fire. Sources suggest that the immediate cause may have been a recent Israeli raid in Gaza that resulted in several Hamas commanders being killed. In retaliation, Hamas vowed to make Israel pay the price. Within hours, the first rockets were launched. The Israeli government called it an act of terror, while Hamas claimed it was a legitimate defense of Palestinian territory. This back-and-forth cycle of attack and counterattack has become tragically familiar in the region, but this time, analysts warn, the stakes are even higher. The timing of the strikes also coincides with political instability in both territories, adding another layer of uncertainty. Israel's leadership faces intense pressure at home, while Hamas seeks to demonstrate strength to its supporters. The combination of political motive and military action has created a volatile situation that could spiral out of control. Reports from the ground describe the Hamas offensive as coordinated and extensive. More than 150 rockets were fired within the first 2 hours, targeting both military and civilian areas. The Iron Dome system intercepted many, but several still landed in populated zones, causing damage and injuries. Eyewitnesses in southern Israel describe chaotic scenes. Families rushing into bomb shelters, streets emptying in seconds, and the skyline lighting up with defensive interceptors. On the Gaza side, the response from Israeli jets has been relentless. Entire neighborhoods have lost power, and emergency crews are working through the night. Military experts are comparing this wave of strikes to the early days of previous major conflicts, warning that if neither side backs down, this could escalate into a prolonged battle. International mediators, including Egypt and Qatar, are already urging both sides to cease fire. But so far, neither appears willing to stop. Israel's response was swift and fierce. Within minutes of the first rockets being fired, the Israel Defense Forces (IDF) launched a counter-operation, striking more than a dozen Hamas positions across Gaza. Airstrikes targeted command centers, rocket launch sites, and suspected weapons storage facilities. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressed the nation stating, "We will defend our citizens with all necessary force." The IDF has placed its forces on high alert, deploying additional troops along the border. There's also talk of a potential ground operation if the attacks continue. For Israeli civilians, the mood is grim but defiant. Sirens have become a constant reminder of danger. Yet communities are determined to endure. Meanwhile, international news outlets are broadcasting live updates as global leaders call for restraint. But inside Israel, the message from officials is clear this time: they intend to hit back hard. Behind the headlines are ordinary people living through extraordinary fear. In Gaza, families are fleeing their homes as explosions rock the city. Hospitals are overwhelmed, with doctors working around the clock to treat the wounded. Many civilians have nowhere to go. In Israel, the story is much the same. Children spending nights in shelters, parents comforting one another under constant sirens. The human cost of this conflict extends beyond politics and power. It's a tragedy of displacement, loss, and fear. Human rights organizations are calling for immediate de-escalation, warning that continued fighting will only deepen the humanitarian crisis. Meanwhile, aid convoys are being organized, but access to Gaza remains severely restricted. As news of the strike spreads, world leaders are responding with concern. The United Nations has called for urgent restraint, while the US and European Union are urging both sides to return to dialogue. Washington reaffirmed Israel's right to defend itself, but also emphasized the need to protect civilian lives. Arab nations have reacted strongly as well. Some have condemned the Israeli strikes as excessive, while others have criticized Hamas for reigniting violence. The divide in global opinion highlights just how complex and polarizing this conflict remains. At the same time, social media is ablaze with hashtags, debates, and misinformation, a digital echo of the war unfolding on the ground. Analysts warn that online narratives may further inflame tensions, making diplomacy even harder. Military analysts believe the Hamas operation was highly coordinated. Intelligence sources say Hamas may have developed new tactics to bypass Israel's surveillance and defense systems. Some experts suggest that external support or new technology may be involved, though evidence remains unconfirmed. Israel, in turn, is relying on satellite imagery, drone reconnaissance, and advanced tracking to locate and destroy rocket launch sites. Both sides are engaged in a high-stakes game of intelligence and counterintelligence, with each strike revealing new strategies. As the conflict deepens, intelligence agencies around the world are watching closely, worried that new methods of warfare, including cyberattacks and drone swarms, could redefine how battles in the region are fought. This new conflict doesn't just threaten Israel and Gaza, it risks pulling in neighboring countries. Hezbollah in Lebanon has already issued statements of solidarity with Hamas, and Israeli officials fear potential attacks from the north. Meanwhile, Iran's leadership has publicly praised Hamas for its actions, framing it as resistance against Israeli aggression. This raises concerns that the situation could evolve into a broader regional confrontation involving multiple players. With international alliances shifting and old rivalries resurfacing, many fear that one misstep could ignite a chain reaction across the Middle East. Global oil markets, regional trade, and diplomatic relations all hang in the balance. Amid the chaos, journalists and civilians are sharing powerful first-hand accounts. In Gaza, one reporter described the city as a sea of fire and fear. In Israel, a mother recounted how her family spent the entire night underground, praying for silence between sirens. These stories remind the world that behind every political statement and military report are real lives. People just trying to survive another night. The resilience shown by civilians on both sides is nothing short of extraordinary. At the same time, frustration is mounting. Many feel abandoned by international leaders and exhausted by the cycle of violence that seems to have no end. As dawn breaks over the region, both sides are showing no sign of retreat. Hamas vows to continue its campaign, while Israel promises to expand its military operations until the threat is eliminated. Analysts believe the next 48 hours will be crucial, determining whether this remains a short-lived escalation or spirals into another full-scale war. For now, the world watches and waits. If you found this report informative, please like, share, and subscribe to stay updated on every development from the Middle East and beyond. Hit the bell icon so you never miss breaking news coverage like this.